We're kind of stuck in space here. Okay, we're now live on Facebook.
Looks like Mike Haugen is here. He's getting his audio connected.
Okay. Thank you. Committee members, did you get the July 13th minutes while we're waiting? You gonna be ready on those? Okay.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, we see you too.
Let me turn up. Okay, my volume is here well. So Karen, would you speak to me?
I will try. You're kind of digitizing.
Karen?
Yes.
I can barely hear you, but I will really strain to hear. I got it on full blast. I pick it up and mess with it. Yeah, it's on full blast.
Apparently, Mike, your bandwidth is low. We're getting a signal, so we'll just try and be entertaining.
Okay, I'll do the best I can.
All right, thanks. And Officer Batel, welcome. Lieutenant, I couldn't remember for sure. I didn't want to say it wrong. Now that code is over at the police department again, Lieutenant Andrew Batel is here with us to see what we're doing, right? All right, well, I think we've got everyone. Let's roll. I'm Karen Hiller. I'm the councilwoman from District 1, and we are calling to order the meeting of the City Council's Public Health and Safety Committee. It is 3 o'clock in the afternoon on August 17th. Would the other council members on the committee please introduce yourselves?
Neil Dobler, District 7.
Thank you.
Sylvia Ortiz, District 3.
Oh boy, this is going to be a hard day. Lots of communication issues going on, I guess. All right. Our agenda is very focused today. We have item 2 is to approve the minutes of our July 13 meeting. Then we're to have a brief staff update that says maintenance and budget. Our main topic is to talk about how we see times going and whether we think we're at a point where we could plan our public hearings, and if so, discuss how we might either way, discuss how we might handle that. Any other additions or corrections to the agenda? If not, would move to item number 2 and entertain a motion to approve the minutes from July 13.
So moved.
It's been moved. I just got a flash that Sylvia's network bandwidth was low. So you're back. Second, thank you. Moved and seconded. Any additions or corrections? If not, all in favor say aye. Or wave your hand. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Mike Haugen, do you want to give us a brief update? Anything to share about property maintenance?
You're muted, Mike.
Mike? I think we lost him.
Yeah, it looks like we lost him. I'll see if he pops back in here.
Got Ghostbusters at all the city buildings. Taking bandwidth. Taylor, is he in touch with you?
No. Liz, maybe?
Neil?
Yeah,
Neil?
I would suggest we move to perhaps number 4 and talk about public hearings and come back to number 3 later.
That's a very good idea. Just want to give him a minute. Let's do that. Neil, since you've got the mic, what are you thinking about timing?
I think last time we talked about really just checking in this month to see what the situation looked like and when it made sense for us to start scheduling those neighborhood or public meetings. I think it really, probably the biggest question on everybody's mind right now is how things are going to go once we hit, full-blown schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it would make sense to, as we probably anticipated last month, postpone this discussion for another month and just see if we get a month of school behind us and things are going pretty well, then I think we probably feel better about starting to schedule some face-to-face meetings. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, I think people are pretty uncertain right now. Sylvia, what are your thoughts?
I would second that motion. I agree. It gives us a little bit more time.
Okay. Something that occurred to me after we had that discussion last month that we really hadn't talked about. Obviously, we're having a bad Zoom day, so maybe we don't want to do this by Zoom. But do we want to consider something that's like a Facebook Live, doing surveys, putting surveys out to engage people that either can't or don't want to come live? I don't know how big we want to make it. And I thought I had worked on what some questions might be just in terms of managing the discussion. And I sent those out to you. And when I did that, I thought, oh, well, maybe we would want to include surveys. I think Molly was going to be on board today. I asked to have Molly join us in case we wanted to talk about something broader. Hi, Molly. Thanks.
Hey.
Karen, I personally feel like people are not thinking about this right now. I think that they're focused on what's going to happen in the end of August. So I don't know if they would just kind of overlook it, and I don't want it to be overlooked. So I think we just wait until next month and then see where we're at, and then we can go from there.
That's fine. I just wanted to throw that out, that we hadn't talked about using any medium except the public meetings. And so I thought, well, if we were going to at least check signals today, we could consider that. We could talk about it a little bit if you want to. Otherwise, we don't need to. I mean, we obviously have planning time. So you think just hold off on the whole thing, go ahead and schedule for the middle of next month at our regular time? Sylvia, what about you, Neil?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, I'll wait till item 5. So yeah, I agree. We should just wait a month and recheck the situation, and perhaps we can make some, schedule some meetings at that time.
Okay. That's fine. If that's all, did the list of questions sound like they could make a good structure for us whenever the time comes? Did either of you have a chance to look through those? Any answer's okay. Have a peek at them.
haven't.
See if
I
in
haven't.
general, I was just looking at the fact that we have done a deep dive into a lot of details of what the code says and how the enforcement's gone and what we know from the street. But that when you look at that list and think about it, I thought for the public, they don't know all those specifics. They just know what they think their city looks like, what things have been, been able to get action on in their neighborhoods and what things they haven't, and that perhaps we should approach our input session, however we do it, in a little more open-ended questions. So just have a look at those when you have time and see what you think, and before next time. Well, with that, let's move to number 5, other items before the committee. Neil, did you have something you wanted to raise?
I don't know if this committee is the right place, but I think a couple of weeks ago, we talked a little bit about the availability of high-speed internet, decent internet in all parts of the town, particularly in light of the fact that a lot of kids at some point in this school year probably are going to be online, trying to do school online. I know, it came out a few days after that that 501 had teamed with Cox Communication, which I think is great. I just am curious, I guess, in the long run, and frankly, I think it kind of what we've experienced today just on Zoom kind of points out that I'm not sure whatever the low speed internet is, if that's going to be adequate. And it seems like that's a health and safety issue at some point. So I wonder if we can add that to our agenda. I think particularly if we're going to hold public meetings later on, I'd like to hear from folks from all parts of the community to really see whether the access and the speed of the internet that's available is meeting the needs of the community. So again, just my thoughts at this point, but seems like something that might fit nicely into this committee.
I do know that we have had a development since that meeting, in that the state has put money out for broadband. I talked to the city manager about it today. Apparently the AT&T and Cox are working with them. I don't know if that's good enough to satisfy us, but it was also on the list of follow-up items for the budget that was part of the package we went through on Tuesday. So we may be able to check with him about whether, I know that I've been asking around. It's a really good question because nobody was addressing it. The partnership wasn't addressing it. We weren't addressing it. The old committee that addressed it for a while is no longer. And so it seems like somebody needs to champion it. So we can sure check. Sylvia, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, Neil, I thank you for bringing that up because I've been thinking about it. I wanted to say that I have a constituent that has cable and has a foster child. And when they signed up for the free internet, because one of the guidelines is, if you have a foster child, but when they signed up, they were told that because they're paying so much per for cable that they didn't qualify. And so I think that X's a lot of people out, Neil. I really do. Some people have that because that's the only entertainment they have, you know. And so they felt like since her bill was like $150, then she should be able to pay for internet. But that's not how it's being presented to us. It's being presented because I looked on there and it says if you have a foster child, then you should be able to get internet so that they could do their schoolwork. Now, I know that they sent out everybody to sign up, and then they ask different questions again, you know. So I really want to see, I think it'd be important to see, you know, to see where they're at and where they qualify. So I really think that this is a great idea, Neil, because, you know, we got low to moderate income people. Now they'll buy a cell phone. They'll have a cell phone. They can't, you know, they maybe can't go without other things, or they don't want to, you know, they can't afford this or that, but they'll get that cell phone. And so if that's one of the qualifications is that they're looking at that they have cable, I mean, we've just got to see what it entails so we know for our constituents. You know what I'm saying? And I know that there's another area and they were giving it to them for like $10 a month. So I think this would be helpful to bring it all together so we know without a doubt what we're getting. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. We can see if things are moving quickly, the city manager may bring something to the whole council before we would meet, or at least news, and I don't know. So we can stub that in as something to inquire about. Neil?
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Couple of thoughts. Number one, back to your comments about the money coming through the state. You know, there's some real competing interests because if you live in rural areas, you most likely have poor internet service. And that's a huge focus, and rightfully so, but it's also very expensive. I mean, it's like running water from, you know, in the city where you have 10 houses per block, and in the county, you got a house every half mile or whatever. It gets more expensive to provide that service. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on the equity between urban and rural areas for that money. Number two, I think we, and the city manager indicated that Cox is actually interested in the process that I'd talked about a few weeks ago that West Des Moines, Iowa is doing, where the city creates a utility and builds the conduit infrastructure, and private companies lease that, and that covers the cost. They're actually interested in that. So I think there's a partnership. I think what Cox is doing right now probably hits part of the, you know, gets to part of the problem, and we certainly appreciate that and applaud them for that. But as Councilwoman Ortiz mentioned, I think there's a lot of people, I'm suspecting there's a lot of people falling through the cracks. And, you know, I just know my wife and I work from home a lot. And if we're both on video calls, we've had to up our internet speed to something that's fairly substantial just to keep up with what two people are doing. And I just can't imagine that, you know, trying to get a couple of kids and maybe one adult working from home. I just don't know that the free internet or the 1995 internet is really the answer. So I'd like to find out. I guess I'm speculating and would like to see what the real answer is. So thank you very much.
Certainly. Well, if you, what I was checking my calendar, a month from now would be Monday, the 21st of September. We could meet a little earlier if you want. That will be after the last council meeting of the month, next month, because the council only meets on the 1st, 8th, and 15th. So I think unless people have certain Mondays that are good or bad, we could pick when we think would be the best time of the month to reconvene. And we can get staff and city manager to give us at least a report. We can pick this agenda up where we left off and ask them to, that'll help keep it alive with the council. It just seems to fall between the cracks, like you say.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Thanks.
I heard interest from you, Councilwoman Ortiz, so I assume there's a consensus to go ahead and put it on our agenda.
Yes, please. And if you want to move it up, that's fine. I mean, we're gonna have to do something so that we're all informed, or maybe we can work something out. But again, I just want to make sure, and I know they talked about putting school buses in different areas, and that's all good, but it's nothing like, having it in your home. So again, I just want to thank Neil. If you guys want to meet earlier, I'm not opposed to that. So whatever the committee wants to do is fine with me.
Well, I thank you. I was just thinking that in terms of this, how compelling the need is, if we moved it up a little bit, since people are, by then we'll be sort of jockeying around about when school's really going to start and how the arrangements are going to work for the kids. And so it might be a little more timely to shoot for the 14th for our next meeting instead of wait until the 21st. Does that work for both of you? Okay. Well, let's count on that for the next meeting then. And then now that we have Mike Haugen with us, we can back up to item number 3 and see if there are any updates from staff.
You hear me?
Maybe.
Do you
I saw
hear
your
me?
lips move.
Aye,
Can
aye,
everyone
aye.
hear Mike? Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
You're in your car.
It was, hey, can you hear me or no?
We were talking about broadband, Mike. That's what's so funny, sort of.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, that's all I was asking. Okay, so what is it you would like to know?
Are you driving? I need you to
Our
pull
agenda
over.
items.
No, I was in my office and I couldn't get through, so I ran out to my truck.
You're not
So-
driving though, right?
Okay. Our agenda says, it simply has a staff update on property maintenance and budget is what it says.
And
Maybe
I'm not sure, yeah, our budget, talking with the police department, we are going to maintain our budget with Katrina Rice, our accountant, all the way through 2020, since it was already run that way. In 2021, the police department will handle our budget from then on. Does that make sense?
But it remains the same.
It remains the same.
You all didn't lose it. Yeah. So we've got full staff positions then for you.
We do not. We are one inspector down. We will remain one inspector down through 2020. In 2021, I'll request to fill that position.
Okay. Are there any other updates or questions from the committee for Mike? Okay. Well, we're glad you're stable.
I am.
Great.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I was thinking a little bit about the survey again. I think an option to that would be paper surveys in the hands of Mike, since he's already in his vehicle. He could go like door to door across the community and really get us the answers we need. I don't know if there's any support for that.
Well, it would be easy. They wouldn't have to do anything extra, right?
Hopefully Mike doesn't know where I live.
He does.
Well, since his broadband is spotty, he doesn't know what you said. And so we'll just hold it like everything else. All right, everyone. If is there any further business for us to consider today? If not, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you, Lieutenant Vettel. And we will convene again on September 14th at 3. And thank you, Liz, for all the arrangements.
Thanks. Goodbye.